الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Continuing our discussion from the last class, in the last class we were trying to use Mu'arraf bil Lam in the place of Ma'rifa in Jumla Ismiya. Jumla Ismiya, before that, so we started off with Huruf, right? Huruf al-Hija, 28 letters, 28 or 29. Then we learned that the combination of huruf forms a lafz, right? And a lafz can either be meaningful or meaningless, right? And the meaningful word, meaningful lafz is called a kalima, right? And a kalima can either be ism, fi'l or harf, three types, right? And then combination of meaningful words forms a murakkab, right? Murakkab means a combination of words. Now that murakkab can either be tamma or complete, or that can be naqisa or incomplete. Murakkab tamma and murakkab naqisa, right? So murakkab tamma is the murakkab which gives the complete meaning, right? Like for example, Jumla Ismiya, right? Jumla Ismiya is a murakkab tamma because it gives the complete meaning, right? The boy is righteous, the boy is tall, the girl is tall, those kind of examples. Or it can, the other category of murakkab is murakkab naqisa, right? Murakkab naqisa is that murakkab which does not convey the complete meaning. Um, in English, we call them as phrases, right? For example, tall boy, right? Now there's a difference between the boy is tall and tall boy, right? Or righteous woman, right? It's just talking about a characteristic of the woman, but it is not conveying the complete meaning. So we were trying to look into the rules of Jumla Ismiya, and uh, we know the rules of Jumla Ismiya, right? Really quick, what are the rules of Jumla Ismiya? Jumla Ismiya has Mubtada and Khabar, right? Mubtada is the kalima that does the ibtada of the sentence, the one which starts the sentence, right? And Mubtada and Khabar, and Mubtada is usually Ma'rifa and Khabar is Nakira, right? And mubtada and khabar both are marfu, right? And khabar follows mubtada when it comes to two things. So all four aspects of the ism are covered. So what we are trying to do is we learned that there are seven types of marifa. So where we were trying to use each of those categories at the place of mubtada, right? So we did ismul alam, we did ismul ishara or demonstrative pronouns, we did mu'arraf bil lam, right, at the place of mubtada. So continuing with that discussion, mu'arraf bil lam seems complicated, but the concept is very simple, that any ism, any nakira ism, which has been converted into marifa by adding alif lam, right? So that is called mu'arraf bil lam. So for example, waladun, if you add alif lam to waladun, it becomes al waladu, right? Al waladu. And the translation of that is, in English, waladun means a boy or any boy, right? But when you make it marifa, you add alif lam, it becomes al waladu, which means a specific boy. So we don't use the letter a, rather we use the, right, in English, the boy. We looked at a couple of examples in our last class. For example, if we want to say the door is open, right? So door is babun, and if we want to say the door, it will be al babu, right? And open, maftuhun, right? Maftuhun, and maftuhun. So al babu maftuhun. This would be the Arabic for that. Um, there was one rule that we studied in the previous classes, that where if something is ghair aqil, the jama of that will have the form of wahid muannas, right? What do we mean by that is if we want to say the doors are open, right? So babun, the jama of doors is abwab, abwab, right? So al abwabu, which means the doors, and for open, we would use the sigha or the form of wahid muannas, which means maftuhatun. Al abwabu maftuhatun, right? So that was one rule that we studied. So in case of asmaul ishara, we would use the ishara of wahid muannas, right? Um, um, in today's class, we will look at the concept of colors. And in our initial discussions, when we started off in some of the earlier classes, we did say that colors in Arabic are different than colors in any other language like English, because in Arabic, any color will have two versions of the same color. What do we mean by that? It means that when it comes to the jins or the gender, so the thing that we are referring to, the color of the thing that we are referring to, if that is a muzakkar, the muzakkar form of color is used, and if that is a muannath, the muannath form of the color is used. So let's quickly go over the basic colors. So red, and the muzakkar form of red is ahmaru, and the muannath form of red is hamra'u. So you can see that there is like a pattern over here. Aswadu sawda'u, akhbaru khadra'u, right? uh, Azraqu zarqa'u. So red, ahmar, black, aswad, green, akhdar, blue, azraq, white, abyad, yellow, asfar. These are the muzakkar, and the muannath hamra'u, sawda'u, khadra'u, zarqa'u, bayda'u, and safra'u. Right? So for example, we say hijrul aswad, right? Hijrul aswad, what does that mean? The black stone, right? So hijr means a stone. Hijrun is the word for that. We have a chapter in the Quran by the name of Suratul Hijr. uh, Suratul Hijr, right? So Hijrul Aswad, which means Hijr is muzakkar, so that's why Aswad is used, means the black stone. And in the Quran we have Safra'u, Safra'u. When in Suratul Baqarah, the qissa or the story of Baqarah, right? So the ayah says that Baqaratun Safra'u. So when the Bani Israel, they ask Musa alayhi salam that the Baqarah or the cow that Allah wants us to slaughter, what kind of a cow is that, right? So they keep asking questions in Suratul Baqarah. So Safra'u is the word that is used. Baqaratun Safra'u, yellow. But because Baqarah, right? Baqarah, it has a ta marbuta at the end. So because of ta marbuta, we know that it is a feminine, right? So cow, it is a feminine. So because of that, the feminine form or the muannath form of safra'u is used. We'll take some examples to understand it more clearly, and we'll try to use these colors in Jumla Ismiya. I want to say the shirt is white, right? The shirt is white. Um, the Arabi for shirt is qamisun, qamisun. So if I want to say the shirt is white, uh, firstly, we have to see whether qamisun is it muzakkar or muannas, right? So it is muzakkar. So we would use the word for muzakkar. So the shirt, right? In Jumla Ismiya, the mubtada is ma'rifa. So the shirt would be al qamisu. So from qamisun, al qamisu. So the shirt, right, is white. So al qamisu abyadu. Al qamisu abyadu. The shirt is white. If I want to say the sky is blue, the sky, what is the word for sky? As-sama, yeah, samaun, samaun, right? So samaun, when we use it in the place of mubtada, it would be as-sama'u, as-sama'u, right? Why as-sama'u? Because a mubtada is ma'rifa, and when you add alif lam, we know that alif lam has animosity with the tanween, right? Alif lam and tanween, they don't come together. So when alif lam comes, tanween is gone. So sama'un becomes as-sama'u. So as-sama'u, and as-sama'u, if we want to say blue, which version of blue would we use here? Would we use azraqu or zarqa'u? No, zarqa'u. Zarqa'u. Why? Because sama is muannas. And from where do we learn that? If you remember the chapter of Muzakkar Muannas, there were some mutafarriq asma, miscellaneous, right? So in that we had sama, in that we had nafs, right? And we had some more in that. So sama is from those mutafarriq or miscellaneous asma which is used as muannas in the Quran. So as-sama'u zarqa'u, as-sama'u zarqa'u. If I want to say the handkerchief is blue, the Arabi for that is mindil, mindilun. Mindilun means a handkerchief. Handkerchief is blue, blue. So what would be the Arabi for that? It's a mindilun, mindilun, right? So mindilun would be al mindilu, al mindilu azraqu, right? Azraqu. Why? Because it is muzakkar, right? If I want to say the pen is red, the pen is red. Al qalamu ahmaru, right? Al qalamu ahmaru. Why ahmaru, not hamra'u? Because it is muzakkar. If I want to say the car is white, as-sayyaratu. Sauda'u means black. Oh, you said red? White. I said white. That's alright. If you like black car. So as-sayyaratu bayda'u, right? And why are we using bayda'u and why not abiyadu? Muannas, right? And how do we know it is a muannas? Tamal Buddha, right? Um, if I want to say, do you know the Arabic word for fan? Mirwahatun, mirwahatun, mirwahatun. So if I want to say two fans are beautiful, two fans, if mirwahatun is one, what would be two? Mirwahatani, mirwahatani. Because I'm using it at the place of mubtada, I should have to add an alif lam. So it will become al mirwahatani, right? So um, two fans are beautiful. So al mirwahatani jamilatani, right? Jamilatani. And so these are the examples that are not related to colors but just related to the previous topic. So al mirwahatani jamilatani. And if I want to say the mosque is big, what would I say? The mosque al masjidu kabirun. Kabirun. Al masjidu kabirun. If I want to say the house is near, al baytu qaribun, right? If I want to say the houses are near, al buyutu al buyutu near. Qaribatun, qaribatun. Why qaribatun? Plural, right, right. If I want to say the Muslims are righteous, what would be the Arabic for that? Al Muslimuna salihuna, salihuna. And if I want to say the students are hardworking, so students talibun for a single student, and tullabun for plural, right? So at-tullabu and the hardworking mujtahidun is mujtahidun. So mujtahidun is for singular. So for the jama salim, it would be mujtahiduna, mujtahiduna, muslimuna, mujtahiduna, right? Una, ina. Remember? So at-tullabu mujtahiduna, right? So these were some of the examples. So we are talking about murakkabat, right? Murakkab. What is a murakkab? A murakkab is a combination of alfaz, a combination of words, right? And murakkab is of two types, murakkab tamma and murakkab naqisa, right? So jumla ismiya was murakkab tamma. What about the other part, which is murakkab naqisa? Murakkab naqisa, or phrases, right? So in today's class, we'll start with one of the murakkab naqisa, and it's going to be very easy. Um, Murakkab naqisa is that murakkab in which the meaning is not conveyed completely. It's called murakkab naqisa. Let me take an example. So if I want to say tall boy, right? Tall boy. Is the meaning being conveyed completely? No, right? It's just there's an ism and the other is like a characteristic of that ism, right? So there are two words, and the meaning is not complete. So that's why it is murakkab naqisa. And one ism is talking about the other ism. In English, do you know what this is called? Like, we know what a boy is, right? It's an ism. It's an ism, and in English we call it a common noun, right? So, what about tall? What does tall talk about the boy? It is a characteristic, right? In English, there is a word for that, adjective, right? Adjective. So adjectives are those words in the English language which talk about the characteristic of other nouns, right? They are called as adjective. In Arabic, we have a similar thing, but the difference is in English, we in Arabic we just have three types of kalima, right? We have either ism or fi'l or harf, right? So what about the adjectives then? The adjectives fall under the category of ism in Arabic, right? But when both of them are combined, they are called murakkab, and because murakkab because of two words, and there is a name for that. It is called murakkab at-tawsifi. Murakkab at-tawsifi. Tawsifi is coming from sifa, right? Sifa means characteristic. Sifa means characteristic. So you can just call it simply as murakkab tawsifi. Murakkab tawsifi is that murakkab in which one ism is talking about the characteristic of another ism, right? And there is a word for that. What do I mean by that? So the ism about whom something is talked about, that is called mausuf. That is called mausuf. That is called mausuf. And the the other ism which is talking about the mausuf is called sifa. Is called sifa. Easy, right? Easy. Mausuf and sifa. Mausuf, sifa. Who is mausuf? Mausuf is anything. Now we use this word mausuf in Urdu, right? Ye mausuf aaye the, something like that, right? So that is in a like a general use, but in this case, mausuf is referring to the person, or it could even be a thing, right? It does not have to be like a human, right? It can be like, I want to say, a tall chair, right? Or a short table, something like that. So still we call that as mausuf. So don't get confused between the mausuf that we use in the language and this mausuf. Mausuf is anything in which about whom something is being talked about, and sifa is that ism which is the character, which, simply characteristic, right? It's the characteristic which is describing the mausuf, right? So mausuf and sifa, right? So this was about what the murakkab is. Now what about the rules? What about the rules? The rules are very simple. Tall boy, black pen, beautiful watch, black car, right? So we studied about the colors just few minutes back, and the good news is that whenever we use the colors to describe something, even they fall under murakkab tawsifi. If I want to say red car, right? So it would be sayyaratun hamra'u, red car, right? So that also falls under murakkab tawsifi, colors, because a color, what is a color? A color is describing something, right? So it falls under murakkab tawsifi, beautiful watch, like that. So what about the rules? What about the rules? So the rules are pretty simple, as I said. The first thing to keep in mind is, in English and in Urdu, we write the adjective or the sifa first, right? So if I want to say, there was a tall boy, so I would write the word tall first before the boy, right? But in Arabic, it is the opposite. It is the opposite. So what happens is, the boy, the mausuf is written first. Okay, so that would be wala waladun, right? Waladun. The boy is written first, so waladun. And then the sifa follows the mausuf. The sifa follows the mausuf. Waladun tawilun. Waladun tawilun. Waladun tawilun. Tall boy. Waladun salihun. Pious boy. So the mausuf is written first and the sifa follows mausuf. So what are the rules of murakkab tawsifi? Right? What are the rules of murakkab tawsifi? The rules of Murakkab Tawsifi are very, very simple. What are they? In all the four aspects of Murakkab Tawsifi, in all the four aspects of the ism, what are the four aspects of the ism? The i'rab, jins, adad, wus'at, right? I'rab, jins, adad, wus'at. In all the four aspects, the sifat follows mausuf. The sifat follows mausuf. What do I mean by that? If waladun is marfu, sifat will be marfu. If waladin is mansub, which means in nasab, waladan, sifat would be tawilan. If waladun is in jar, waladin, sifat will be tawilin in i'rab. What about jins? If waladun is muzakkar, it would be muzakkar. If in the place of waladun, if I use bintun, which is muannas, it would be tawilatun, which is muannas, right? Jins. What about adad, wahid jama and wahid musanna and jama. Wahid musanna jama. If the mausuf is wahid, sifat will be wahid. If the mausuf is jama, sifat will be jama. If the mawsuf is musanna, sifat will be musanna, right? What about wus'at, ma'rifa and nakira? If the mawsuf is nakira, sifat will be nakira. If the mawsuf is ma'rifa, sifat will be ma'rifa. So this is a nakira murakkab, right? I mean, this is in nakira, waladun salihun. If I want to make it ma'rifa, if I want to make it ma'rifa, how do I make it ma'rifa? Add alif lam. So waladun becomes al waladu, and salihun becomes no as salihu. As salihu. Now there's something important over here. That is, we don't say al waladu as salihu when we al waladu salih, right? Why? Why this hamza is not read? Why is this hamza not read when we say in continuity? Because this hamza has a name. Do you remember the name? That is because the sun and moon letter has to do with the sod. What about the hamza? It's called hamzatul wasl, right? That hamzatul wasl is just for support. So if nothing is there, then that hamza is read, right? If there's something, that hamza stays there but is not read. So we still write this, we write this, but we don't read it. So what does it become? Al waladu salihu, right? So that was about the hamza. But what about the sad? Why are we not saying al waladu? What about the lam? What about the lam? Why are we not reading the lam? Now comes the concept of the sun and moon letters, right? Huruf al-shamsiya wa huruf al-qamariya. Whatever letter is there after the lam, we look at that and then we judge based on those 14 letters that are sun letters, 14 letters that are moon letters. So that is why al-waladu salihu, right? Al-waladu salihu. If I want to say, what's the difference in the meaning between waladun salihun and al-waladu salihu? What is the difference in the meaning, in the translation? Uh, so waladun salihun is like a example, means the a pious boy. Mm-hmm. And al-waladu salihun is the pious. Exactly, exactly. You got it. So the main difference is waladun salihun is a or any. It can be any or a. But al waladu salihu is the, right? The specific one, right? So that is the thing. Now there comes an important question. There comes an important questions before we move on to taking some more examples. So what is the difference between these two? And if I write we have waladun salihun, we have al waladu salihu, and then we have al waladu salihun. So what is the difference between these three? This simple, I mean, with the deletion of an alif lam, the entire meaning would change in Arabic. How would the meaning change? These two are murakkabat, which means they are not conveying the complete meaning. So a pious boy, the pious boy. But in this case, because this is ma'rifa and this is nakira, so then it becomes a jumla ismiya. And jumla ismiya means the boy is pious, right? Because of ma'rifa and nakira. So you see the difference? Just by omitting the alif lam, the meaning of the sentence has been changed. So something to be amazed about. In English, this would be a righteous boy or a pious boy, and this would be the pious boy. and this would be the boy is pious. It conveys the entire meaning. The main thing in Murakkab Tawsifi, when we talked about the rules, right? So we said that sifat sifa or sifat follows mausuf in all the four aspects. So the main ism is the mausuf. Sifa is just following the mausuf, right? So in Arabic, the mausuf comes first. So you have to bring the sifa according to the mausuf and not the other way, right? Because in English and Urdu, the sifa is written first and then comes the mausuf. So in Arabic, the mausuf comes first, and whatever sifa is there, it should adjust according to the mausuf. That's an important thing to note. Al-waladu salihun is the pious one. Right, right. Waladun salihun is a pious one. Right, right. And al-waladu salihun is the boy is pious. Right, right. Let's take an example. If I'm in place of walad, if I keep Zaid, in place of walad, if I keep Zaid, Zaidun Salihun. Zaidun Salihun. So what is the meaning of Zaidun Salihun? Uh, no. Zaid is fire. Why? Because of Marifa, and this is Marifa and this is Nakira. The first thing that you should look for is whether these two are same in terms of Wusat or they are different. If they are same, it means that it comes here. Because if they are same, remember that the sifa follows mausuf. If it is marifa, it is makira. If it is marifa, the sifa is marifa. If it is nakira, the sifa is nakira. But when these two asma, these two isms are different in wus'at, which means this is marifa and this is nakira, so they are no longer murakkab tawsifu, rather they are jumla ismiya, because mubtada is marifa and khabar is nakira, right? So Zaidun Salihun, which means that Zaid is pious. Zaid is pious. If I want to convert this Jumla Ismiya into Murakkab Tawsifi, how do I convert that? It is very simple. It is to, in Murakkab Tawsifi, Sifa follows Mausuf, right? So who is the Mausuf here? Zaid, right? Zaidun is the Mausuf. So it is Ma'rifa and this is Nakira. Nakira. So what do? I add Alif Lam, right? And remove the Tanween. Remove the Tanween. Now we have a problem, right? We have a problem. So what's the problem? The problem is, how do we read this? How do we read this? Yeah. So whenever there is a problem, there is a solution, right? So what's the problem? The problem is this alif lam that we just added. So we know that the hamza, this is not read, right? So it remains there. Now if we read this as Zaidu Salihu, the problem is that then what's the difference between if we read this as Zaidu Salihu, then how do we identify whether it is Zaidun or Zaidu? Because even if it is Zaidu, that would be Zaidu Salihu, right? So we have to do something about this tanween, right? We have to do something about this tanween. So what do we do now? What we do is we open the tanween. We open the tanween. What do I mean by that? What is tanween? What is tanween? Tanween is nothing but it's the sound of noon sakin. Tanween is the sound of noon sakin, right? So if when I'm talking about opening the tanween, it means that Zaidun can be written as Zaidun, right? Because we are writing it this way, but the sound is same. Zaidun, 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 right? So we open the tanween, right? We open the tanween. So let me do it here. So what I did was I opened the tanween. I opened the tanween and it is this, right? Now how do I read it? Zaidun still doesn't work, right? Still doesn't work. So there is a rule for that. There is a rule for that. And that rule is whenever we have two sakins together, we have a noon sakin and we have a sod, right? We have two sakins together, right? It means what do we mean by a sakin? That there is no haraka on it, right? There is no haraka on the noon and there is no. So we have to read it from something from behind. So whenever there are two sakins, the first sakin we add a kasra to it. We add a kasra to it. So we read that as Zaidun is Salihu. Zaidun is Zaidu nis Salihu. Zaidu nis Salihu. And in the Quran, you would see that this noon is written like this in some of the mushaf. In some of the mushaf. Now the amazing thing is the mushafs that are used in Indo-Pak, the subcontinent, in those mushafs you will find this noon. And whenever you find this noon, you know that, oh, it has a name, by the way. It is called noon qutni. Noon qutni seems very difficult. You don't need to remember it, but let me tell you that there's a name for it. It's called noon qutni. Qaf ta noon ya. Noon qutni. And it is written in a very small font in the mushafs that are used in India and Pakistan. Why? Because they don't know the rules of Arabic. If you look at the mushafs that are used in Saudi, for example, they don't have this noon written there. So let me give you the exact ayah. There are many places in the Quran, but the ayah that I'm talking about is the ayah in Surat Shu'ara, which is Surat number 26, Surat Ash-Shu'ara, and the ayah number is 105. Now, I want you to, if you do you have like an app in which you can switch between different, yeah, okay, do you have something, or I can show you? But the point here is that the story behind this known is something we studied today, right? Yeah, when you read it, you should say كَذَّبَتْ قَوْمُ نُوحٍ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. Now, if you are reading from this mushaf, you won't know that, right? Unless you should know the rules, or you sh either you know the rules, right? Or you are reading from another mushaf, which is the mushaf of the subcontinent, right? If you don't know the rules, right, and if you are not reading from that mushaf, you would read it incorrectly. The dua that we make after the adhan is called Allahumma rabb hadhihi ad-da'wati at-tammah was-salati al-qa'imah ati Muhammada nil wasilata. Muhammada nil wasilata. So this Muhammada nil is because of this note. And if you open this dua in, for example, the classical text, the Uthmani script, you won't find that note. Waladun salihun. Waladun salihun. And this is nakira. What about this is muzakkar? So muannas would be bintun, bintun salihatun. What about musanna? Waladun would be wala wala waladani, waladani. And salihun would be salihani, right? What about marifa? Al waladani as-salihani. Al waladani salihani, because there's no issue of tanween, so we don't have that, right? Waladani salihani. What about bint? Bintani hatani, salihatani, salihatani, right? What about jama? What about jama? Auladun, auladun, salihuna, salihuna, salihuna. Bintani, bintun, banatun, right? Banatun, banatun, salihatun, 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 salihatun. And you know the whenever there is a ma'rifa, what you do is you add alif lam to both of them, right? And what about the i'rab? The i'rab, waladun salihun, waladan salihan, waladin salihin, bintun salihatun, bintan salihatan, bintin salihatin, waladani salihani, waladaini salihaini, bintani salihatani, bintaini salihataini, ani aini, right? And nasb and jar would be same, right? Jama' awladun, awladan, awladin, right? Salihuna, why awladun, awladan, awladin? Why? Because this is jama, this is jama mukassar. This is jama mukassar. What do you mean by jama mukassar? Broken plural, right? Jama mukassar is that jama which is which is not made by the actual ism, right? In the sense that we are not using waladun. But in salihuna, this is jama salim, because salihun is used in jama salim. I mean, I don't want to go deeper into that because we already covered it, but you get the point, right? Salimun, sorry, jama salim is that jama in which the ism, the wahid ism is sahih salim, as we said. It's there. So this is jama mukassar, this is jama salim. That is why these two does not have the una ina sound, but these will have una and ina because of the rules of jama salim. So auladun sali huna, auladan or auladin would be salihina. Quran, Quran, al Quran, right? Al Quran, Quran. And if I want to use Majid, Majid, Al Majid, right? So the sifa of Quran Majid, if I want to use both of them as ma'rifa, Al Quranu Al Majidu, right? Al Quranu Al Majidu. And if it is nasb, Al Qurana Al Majida. If it is jar, Al Qurani Al Majidi. But the sifa, the alif, the hamza is not read, right? So let me just try it for one of them. Al-Qur'ani, Al-Qur'ani Al-Majidi, right? Al-Qur'anu, Al-Qur'ana, Al-Qur'ani. Al-Majidu, Al-Majida, Al-Majidi, right? In the Quran, Surat Qaf, Qaf wal Qur'anil Majid. We stop here. That's why we don't say Majidi, but it's Qaf wal Qur'anil Majid. So Al Majid is the sifa of Quran, right? The glorious Quran, right? Same for Azim, right? Um, same for Azim, same for Hakim. Yasin wal Qur'anil Hakim, wal Qur'anil Hakim. So here it would be, we won't read the Hamza. Yasin wal Qur'anil Hakim. It is Hakimi, and because we are stopping over there, it's the same thing. Sirat, Sirat. Do you know the meaning of Sirat? Siratun, right? Sirat, Siratun. It's a path, right? Mustaqim, Mustaqimun. Siratun, Mustaqimun. Siratan mustaqiman. Siratin mustaqimin. Right? So this is nakira. But if it's used in a ma'rifa sense, as-siratu al-mustaqimu. As-sirata al-mustaqima. As-sirati al-mustaqimi. So in the Quran, in Surah Al-Fatiha, ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. So it is used in nasb, right? So Mustaqim is the sifa of Sirat, right? Mustaqim is the sifa or the characteristic or adjective. Talibun mujtahidun, right? A hardworking student. Hardworking student. The example that we took earlier, it was the student is hardworking. So that was a talibu mujtahidun. If I just wanted to say a hardworking student, right? Talibun mujtahidun, right? And if I want to convert that into ma'rifa, the hardworking student, what would be? Al-mujtahid, right? And we know the rules for how do we combine. Rajulun sadiqun. Rajulun sadiqun. Ar-rajulu as-sadiqu. All ar-rajulu sadiqu. Right? What does that mean? The truthful man. The truthful. A truthful man or the truthful man. Similarly, sa'atun jamilatun. Sa'atun means watch. Right? So, a beautiful watch. Jamilatun. Sa'atun jamilatun. Why are we using jamilatun? Because of the sa'atun has a ta al marbuta at the end, which means that it is a muannas, and that's why we're using jamilatun and not jamilun, right? Sayyaratun, sayyaratun, car. If I want to say the new car, right? So the new car, what's the word for new? Jadidun. And when we use it in muannas, that would be jadidatun. So the new car would be as-sayyaratul as-sayyaratul jadi, right, because of the alif lam, right? No, we won't have, yeah, we won't have the tanween, right, because it is ma'rifa. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about nafsul ammara, nafsul mutma'inna. In Suratul Fajr at the end, Ya ayyuhan nafsul mutma'inna. An nafsul mutma'inna. So, Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutma'inna. In a ma'rifa form. An nafsu al mutma'innatu. Mutma'innatu, right? So, nafs Al-mutma'innatu ta marbuta, because nafs is from the mutafarriq asma, from the miscellaneous words like sama, which are oneness. So nafs, it is oneness, right? So that's why al-mutma'innatu, the ta marbuta at the end. So inshallah ta'ala, we'll be using Murakkab at-Tawsifi in Jumla Ismiya in the next class. So we were using in Mubtada and Khabar, in Mubtada and Khabar, until now we were just using a single ism, a mufrad ism. Mufrad ism for Mubtada, mufrad ism for Khabar. Mufrad means single, right? But we can use a murakkab in the place of mubtada and a murakkab in the place of khabar, right? So inshallah ta'ala we'll be continuing with that in the next class. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.